This is Tom, a fellow motorized bike enthusiast. Tom recently purchased a large but undisclosed amount of land in central Louisiana, and despite this land being nearly perfect for the world's first dedicated motorized bike trailhead, he's decided to do something boring and practical like build a house on it. Ugh. But nevertheless, Tom is a chill dude and shows us some of that southern hospitality by inviting us to his property to explore an unmarked gravesite that only him and 3 other known people know about. What does this have to do with motorized bikes, you may ask? Absolutely nothing, but if you've been following the channel over the past couple of weeks, you'll notice that I've been exploring as many gravesites as I can just as an excuse to have somewhere to go on the motorized bikes. Anyways, to get to Tom's property is a 30-mile trip on back roads with no shoulders pretty much the entire way. And then we have to go home, which is another 30 miles, giving us a total of 60 miles round trip on a motorized bike that I built myself. And this is actually the longest trip I've taken on a gas-powered motorized bike by 2 miles. Tom's description of what we could expect to find at this gravesite was a bit conservative. When I got there, I was pleasantly surprised with what we found. And for all you moto heads who could care less about the destination and more about the ride, you're in luck because we'll have an update on this build along the way. This is Loki. Far from perfect, but my pride and joy. The frame is an F-Zero from BikeBerry.com, commonly known as a felt faker. It's proven itself reliable so far. It's got a 69.4cc 2-stroke motor. This particular motor has a hydraulic clutch system, which I'm falling in love with more and more each time I ride it, not in every situation, but for most of them. Some moderate portwork to the top end on the exhaust and intake side, giving it a sweet spot cruising speed of 6,800 RPMs or 35 miles an hour, and she'll top out at 45 on flat ground with the current carburetor. The pipe is a real MZ65 with a badass Shark clone silencer, not as good as the real ones, they're a bit louder, but they still do the job. Carburetor is Old Faithful, a real NT Speed, not to be mistaken with a Bofang carburetor. They are not the same, and it's mated up to a CDH OZ reed. Reeds on here mostly for fuel efficiency as it doesn't really affect performance, but we got some great mileage out of this bike. The handlebars are off a Huffy Cranbrook. They're simply cut in half to give it a more laid-back, less aggressive stance, and also where the bike gets its name. I actually have my viewers to thank for that suggestion. And the cherry on top of this build is the Gemini wheel set from Will Kidd. These things will be pushed to the limits in this video and have proven themselves to be by far one of the best investments you can make in motorized bikes. Not cheap, but definitely worth it, especially for reliability and just for being rugged. On this build, you also find a pair of semi-hydraulic brakes. I went with this so I could continue to use the dual pull brake lever. It was just a lot simpler that way. They're exactly what you would expect, a good in-between full mechanical and full hydraulics. As a side note, they're easier to bleed than full hydraulics, so they got that going for them. The responsiveness is nice and they have great stopping power. I have no complaints. For tires, you'll find a Maxxis hookworm in the front and a Surface Drifter in the back, recommended by Ethan Smolik. Thank you, this is a fantastic tire. Had to use it in the back. It's a little thinner than the hookworms, and I don't have any chain clearance issues anymore. Not sure why they used the massively thick hookworms on this bike. They must not have tested it, because you can't mount a motor to this without getting it to rub on the tire. Well, I mean, you probably can, but it's not easy. Anyways, that Surface Drifter seems a lot thicker than the Maxxis hookworm, so it's going to be more puncture resistant, and that's good, especially at these speeds. I'll eventually put one in the front. I did order 2, but one of them came slashed right out of the box. That was annoying. No chain tensioner on the drive side. This is optimum if you can get away with it on pretty much any build. In our situation, we can't use a spring-loaded chain tensioner because of the hydraulic clutch. There's a bulge in the casing for the piston, so that doesn't work. I needed some kind of tensioner because I couldn't match these 2 chains together, so I put the chain tensioner on the pedal side. Now, this is something that I've seen a lot of people do before, and I've only recently started doing it, mainly because most of the time when I try to do it, I just don't have the space. But this one worked out. And although it might look close to the spokes in the video, there's at least an inch of clearance between the spokes on the Gemini and the chain tensioner, at least on this build. Not sure if it's going to be the same for everybody. For sprockets on the drive side, we're using a 36 in the back, and we're using the stock 10 tooth in the front. On the pedal side, we have a 22 tooth in the back and a 30 in the front. got Rock Bro pedals and a buck loose crankset. The crankset and chainring were a matching combination, and I decided to go with this tiny chainring for two reasons. So we could flush mount the motor, making it more secure and lowering the center of gravity. Also gives us more room inside the frame, and it makes it a lot easier to pedal from a dead stop. Also, this chainring is, I'm not sure what you call it, but it's designed for single speeds, so it has thicker and thinner teeth to match up to the chain and make it less likely for the chain to jump the sprocket. Not really necessary in motorized Bikeville, but it's always good to have. With Louisiana basking in its third season of summer before our 2 weeks of cool weather hit, it's still in the 90 degrees in mid-September. So, at 20 miles, I decided to take a break and let the motor cool off in the shade at my dad's place. Could it have made the entire trip in one shot? Probably, but there was no reason for me to push it, as I'm not on any time restraints. Despite, for the most part, this bike being built to handle these speeds, and what you see in the video, I don't normally travel at this speed. 35 miles an hour might not seem like much to some, but to me, it's faster than I like to go on a bicycle, even one built like this. More so, later in the video, you'll see me riding through a situation where multiple other bikes would have been a better choice. However, there's a few reasons why I decided to take this bike on this trip instead of anything else. When riding long distances on these side roads with no shoulders that are commonly traversed by log trucks, it's important for me to have plenty of time to get out of the way, and to spend as little time as possible on these roads. This bike's combination of a high cruising speed with a generously large left side mirror allows me to see traffic coming long before it's time to move over. And because the gap is closed slower on a faster bike, it also allows a higher chance for the driver to see me and realize they need to negotiate this obstacle. So in my opinion, this is just one of those niche situations where having a faster bike is the safer alternative. I see you found that shade.
Oh yeah.
It's a nice little spot.
Yeah, there was a storm drain over there and I stopped, but I came a little further. My bike's giving me trouble ever since I took it on those hills.
Yeah? What's it doing?
It ain't running right. Let's get on the road and I'll show you.
All right.
Let me tighten this up. It's only a mile or two, I would imagine. I didn't keep track of it.
This thing made really good time. I was surprised how fast it got here. That 30 miles flew by.
I don't know about that aluminum frame on those hills. I thought mine would bust apart, and it's steel.
Well, let's see how it looks. I'll probably just walk it. I'm glad you got a mirror. No shoulder on these roads sucks.
Yeah, weather's not too busy this time of day.
I'll listen to what this thing's doing if I can hear it over my loud-ass bike.
Oh, I got the same one you got, I think.
Yeah, it feels like it pulls real strong up and then all of a sudden just falls on his face.
I messed up my speed carb, so I'm running the bad one.
The Bafang?
Yeah, well, I got another one coming, so.
It should be all right. And I mean,
rough.
it's not geared for it, but
I fell off earlier. It's rough.
Oh shit! All right.
Tom called this a hog trail, and for good reason. This trail was a hog. I've ridden on things that look a lot worse than this, but ride smoother. And for some reason, this just beat the crap out of my bike. Now, granted, I usually don't take this bike down trails, it's just not made for it, and the other bikes I would have taken on this could have handled it much better. But holy crap, this thing was rough. Earlier, Tom had some concerns about this aluminum frame making it down the trail, and for good reason. Not only is steel better for motorized bikes, but in this situation, Loki is a long aluminum frame. The longer the frame, the more amplified the stresses of hard impacts. Now, whereas steel is generally going to be the best option for building a motorized bike, there is a caveat. Whereas a well-built frame with high-quality aluminum will be better than cheap steel, high-quality frame with good steel will be better than any aluminum.
This bike was not built to do this.
Almost all the way there.
Damn, man, I don't understand how something that looks so smooth could be so damn rattling.
To get to the cemetery, it's even worse. I'm afraid we'll have to walk.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think I want to push that any further on this thing than I have to. So you said Vanilla built that motor.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm guessing balance crank, upgraded bearings.
Oh, yeah.
And did he port it?
Yeah, it has light port work.
I was wondering why, like, to catch up with you on the road, I had to give it the beans. And
yeah,
so,
it's like a sleeper build, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, I was like, that's a good running motor, and you know, until it hit that 4-stroking at the top, and everything else is like it pulls strong.
That can be fixed.
Do you ever actually use this?
Yes, even having just a little bit of something to rest against does wonders versus just a saddle.
How is this seat?
Excellent. I mean, and I chalk that up to it just being so big.
And you said you just did 30 miles on this thing the other day?
Oh, yeah.
And comfy all the way?
Oh, yeah. It ain't like when I started out with a stock Nelluso seat.
Good deal. All right, Tom, what got you into motorized bikes?
Well, I didn't want to pay money for a dirt bike. I was thinking about getting a fat moto for a while, but I just watched enough of your videos. I figured I could build my own and it'd be a lot cheaper.
I was looking at those fat motos too. I might get one of these days because they are a fat tire bike and they are a 4-stroke. You said we're walking down an old wagon trail?
Yeah, it was said to be the only wagon trail that ran from Alexandria to Winfield. It's right through here.
It makes you wonder if the cemetery was here because maybe there was a small town here way back, or maybe it was for the trail.
That's the theory, is for the trail. I think it's right up here where this road turns off. Right here.
I'll be damned. Died 1908. I think that's what I got here. Yeah, December 21st, 1908. The craziest thing about this is this randomly out here in the middle of the woods, combined with all the cemeteries I find just by chance, makes you wonder how many more will never be found.
I thought of that too. Here's one.
Matthew, Fred? What do you think that is? Fredu? Matthew Fredu? I'm terrible with names. Born November 9th, 1880. Died April 4th, 1941. At rest. There must have been a chapel around here somewhere. Good luck finding any remains. These stones are in a lot better condition than I thought they would be.
Yeah, it's almost uncanny. There's not that many of them, so.
Discord admin's machine. He told me I should have brought a spirit box out here, one of those AM, FM radio scanners. I said that is something I'm definitely gonna have to get my hands on for future visits. Tom said he's gonna try and fence these remaining graves in so they can survive. I think that's great. I think that's a great idea. Look, this one just narrowly missed being taken out by this tree. And that wasn't a small tree either. Ella Williams.
1886?
To 1925. There's some more information underneath it, but I can't read it.
Soldier, true Christian and fearless soldier.
And you got good eyes. A true Christian and fearless soldier.
June 1925, my trust is in God.
Hey, interesting thing. Every single cemetery I've gone to so far, did you see that little lizard on the tombstone?
Yeah, I did.
Every single cemetery I've gone to has either had a lizard on tombstones or on the entrance. Yeah, every single one.
Always a sobering feeling finding these old tombstones, reading the names and dates. Big thanks to Tom for inviting us out here to check it out. Unfortunately, Louisiana is about 90% privately owned land, so many of these will go undiscovered for the rest of their existence. So there's no telling just how many of them are hidden out in the woods. Anyways, thanks for coming along for the ride. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and until next time, ride safe.